at that video, sir.
This is in the side. I don't want to get scared before the class by looking at myself. Bro, go a little back. It's too big. Okay, I'm closing my video. Okay, can I close it here?
Yeah.
Bro, check in your laptop. It's better.
Bro, unfortunately,
I'm
I
closing
got
my.
the charger maybe in office.
Oh, okay. It's not working.
It's not okay. Start.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya Bhagavadi Uttama Soke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Destarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome to our weekly study of Bhakti Vaibhav Srimad Bhagavatam 1 to 6. Systematic study of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhakti Vaibhav studies. So today our discussion is on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, entitled The Cosmic Manifestation, the chapter entitled Answers by Citing the Lord's Version. So today's discussion is the 34th verse of 2nd chapter, Canto 2. So this is Chaturshloki, seed verse 2. That's what's our discussion today. So before we jump into the verse, I will give the context. So it's based on, of course, based on our teachings of Srila Prabhupada, and then our Gaudiya Parampara Acharyas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And then this is nicely explained by Gurujana Prabhu in Unveiling the Lotus Feet. So we seek blessings of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga and all the assembled Vaishnavas before we speak on this elevated topic. So we don't have any qualification for ourselves to speak, but by the empowerment of the Acharyas, we try to speak something for our own purification. So before we jump into the verse, today discussing on today's verse and the theme, I'll give the context. So as most of you all know, there are two types of knowledge in this world, Paravidya and Aparavidya. Vedas discuss both this knowledge, the knowledge of this world, also the knowledge beyond this world. Knowledge of this world can be understood by our own endeavor, by mental speculation. For example, if you are hungry, you can figure out that you can, by eating, your hunger can be satisfied. Nobody has to tell you. Similarly, you need to take bath, you can figure it out. If you don't take bath, after some time your body will start smelling. Others will close their nose when they come towards you. So you know that you have to take bath. You can figure it out. But Vedas gives knowledge beyond. They give this knowledge also, but they give beyond knowledge which we can't figure out ourselves. Like whether I should eat and take bath or take bath and eat. I know nobody has to tell me that I have to eat. I can figure it out. I know I have to take bath, I can figure it out. But I should eat and take bath or take bath and eat, that one cannot figure it out on his own. So that kind of knowledge comes from Vedas. So Vedas give this knowledge of this material world so that we can verify ourselves and develop faith. As we develop faith in Vedas, then we can accept the Vedas description of the spiritual world. So that's what Vedas describes, both Paravidya and Aparavidya. By studying with knowledge of this world, by verifying it, we develop slowly faith. Based on that faith, we can accept the knowledge beyond this world. That is the strategy used in Vedas. So Vedas predominantly gradually takes this process using this. The path of Veda is Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. What are they? Dharma is religious principles, what to do, what not to do, in which order things to be done, like whether I should take bath and eat or eat and take bath. This kind of things is described in Dharma. And Artha, economic development, because everybody wants to enjoy this world. So need to be given means to develop economics based on religion. And then when we develop economics, how to enjoy, in what, which is proper way of enjoying these things, that is in Kama. After doing all these things, still your desire is not satisfied. Now what should I do? Then Vedas prescribes you are not happy with all these things. Then you aspire for moksha, liberation. This is the path the Vedas describing. But Vedas is widespread. We all know Vedas contains this 3 kandas. Karma kanda, Upasana kanda and Jnana kanda. Karma kanda describes what you should do in order to get some benefits. If you want to get good health, you should worship sun god. If you want good wife, you should worship Lord Shiva. If you want good husband, you should worship Devi. If you want like knowledge, worship Saraswati. Like that, Vedas describes through Karma Kanda what kind of yagyas, what kind of pujas one should do to get different types of benefits. That is mentioned in Karma Kanda. In Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda, it tells how to worship. What worship needs to be done in Karma Kanda. Upasana Kanda describes how to worship those things, how to worship the various demigods. Also in that, the worship of the Supreme Personality also mentioned. Then comes the Jnana Kanda. Jnana Kanda is the one where after all this enjoyment, you are not satisfied, you need liberation. For that, you need to know the knowledge of the soul. The description of inquiry about the spirit is mentioned in Upasana Kanda. That Upasana Kanda is nothing but Upanishads. This is what it's mentioned. But there is nowhere in Vedas these things are described in a cohesive way. They are everywhere. One might have to go through all these teachings by millions of life to come to understanding how all these things are together put together. Because Vedas is so wide. Only in one place, the entire Vedas, the essence of the entire Vedas, which is there in Upanishads, is described properly in a sequence. This 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, which is embedded inside Mahabharata, only Lord Krishna can do this, understand the whole Vedas and give the purport on how these things are connected. That Lord Shri Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita. He gives the ladder system from Karma Kanda, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, the ladder system he gives in the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. And in the next 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna actually propounds this pure devotional service, the direct process of Bhakti. So these 2 paths Bhagavad Gita describes. And Srimad Bhagavatam, what it does, it talks about only the second path, the pure devotional service path. It doesn't talk about the ladder system. It talks about only the pure devotional service. That is the position of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is compiled as the essence of Vedas, the cream of the Vedic literature. In the full maturity of Veda Vyas, he compiled in the end as a natural commentary to Vedanta Sutra. So as I mentioned, the philosophical knowledge, the inquiry about the spirit, knowledge about the spirit and matter is described in Upanishads. When different sages inquired into this Upanishads about what is the source of everything, Janmadi Yashayata, this is the question they put forward. When they put the question forward, they got different answers. Right? Gautama got this answer. What is the answer? That whatever the answer he got, he wrote it down in a philosophy. That is called Nyaya. Nyaya philosophy. In Nyaya philosophy is the way where how you can understand knowledge, how to decide, how to differentiate between knowledge and invalid knowledge, what are the different ways of getting knowledge. All these methods is described in Nyaya. The conclusion of Nyaya is atoms are the source of everything. That is Nyaya. Later, there is a sage called Kanada or Akshapada. He took this knowledge further to one level. It is not, he accepted Nyaya, but Nyaya is not complete. It's incomplete. These atoms are not just the source of everything. The combination of atoms are the source of everything. Combination of atoms produces things, not just atoms. So that is called Vaisheshika. That is second philosophy called Vaisheshika. Then Patanjali or Kapila, he came and he said, no, these two things are actually incomplete. More than this combination of atoms, there is something called Prakriti. And Prakriti is the one who makes all the things work. The laws of nature is the one who makes all the things work. Then conclusion of Sankhya is, beyond this matter, beyond this Prakriti, there is something called spirit. That cannot be understood by any of this knowledge. That is conclusion of Sankhya. Later, Patanjali Muni came. He said, okay, all these things are correct, but they are still incomplete. Now, how to get information about the spirit? Not through any of this mental speculation process. One has to go through this Ashtanga Yoga. One has to study the Yoga Sutras. By studying the Yoga Sutras, one can conduct this yoga process. By controlling the mind, one can come to the level of seeing the spirit, both super soul and soul in the heart. So that philosophical system is called yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. Further, later there is a Rishi called Jaimini. He said, yeah, this is all great, but still how things are working in this world, everything is working because of karma. If you do this reaction you will get. If you do this type of things, this is the type of reactions you will get. If you do these things, this is the type of reaction you get. If you do like this, you will get good reaction. If you do like this, bad reaction. And if you want to be happy, you do always this good reaction things. Karma Kanda. Or this philosophy system he described is called Purva Mimamsa or Karma Mimamsa. After all these things, later Vedavyas came and he said he rejected all the conclusion of this. They are all stepping stones. The conclusion is incomplete. It's incorrect. The conclusion is not all these things. The conclusion is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He established that. He refuted all the previous philosophical systems. He established Vedanta or Uttara Mimamsa. He compiled all the Vedas, written forms. That is the purpose he did. And he also compiled the Vedanta Sutras. In Vedanta Sutra, which is the entire knowledge of Vedas put in seed forms, in aphorisms, in small formulas, he actually refutes all the other philosophical systems' conclusion and he establishes Vedanta, the conclusion of Veda. Again, this Vedanta, whatever established by Vedavyas, actually clearly it talks about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the spiritual world, the living entity, material world, the relationship between all of them. Whereas later, the study of Vedantist, starting from Shankaracharya, their interpretation of Vedanta is that there is only one. There is no variegatedness. Everything is one. That is Brahman. So, of course, later the Vaishnavacharyas like Madhavacharya, Ramanacharya, Madhavacharya, Nimbarkacharya, all of them established the Vaishnava Siddhanta. The conclusion of Vedanta and Vedanta Sutra is actually it is Vaishnava Siddhanta is the conclusion of the entire Vedas. So that Vedanta Sutra, he wrote a commentary himself, the author wrote a commentary, that is Srimad Bhagavatam, describing the pure devotional service. Instead of talking about Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, he describes this fifth Purushartha, Prema. That is the position of Srimad Bhagavatam. That Srimad Bhagavatam contains 12 cantos. In the 12 cantos, canto 1 is conversation between the Shaunaka Rishi and the sages of Naimisharanya. In that, actually, the whole description of how, actually, all the sages, they pose 6 questions towards Shaunaka Rishi. And Shaunaka Rishi answers those questions by citing his reference to Sukadeva Goswami, what he heard. And then he describes about the Lord's various incarnations, the devotional service, and then about the Pandavas, how they retired, how like Bhishma left this world, how like Parikshit Maharaj appeared, how Parikshit conquered Kali, all these things are described. This conversation is between Shaunaka Rishi and the sages of Naimisharanya. After describing all about Parikshit Maharaj and his glories, in the conclusion of that chapter, he describes how he was cursed by this son of Samika Rishi, right? So he cursed him to die in 7 days by the snake bite, and then he renounced everything. He sat on the bank of river Ganges, and all the sages assembled, all the sages of the universe assembled here. They appointed Sukadeva Goswami to enlighten Parikshit Maharaj. This conversation is what begins in the second kind of Srimad Bhagavatam. Parikshit Maharaj inquires by what are the duties of a person, what one should chant, remember, and meditate the person who is about to die, and what is ultimately good for everybody. That's what he asked. Immediately, like Shukadeva Goswami mentioned about the first steps of God realization in the first chapter of second canto, and then he talked about Lord in the heart, talked about the pure devotional service, the process of creation. After describing all the pure devotional service, Parikshit Maharaj makes further inquiry on how, he understood now what I should be chanting. He wanted to expand, he wanted to know more about the Lord by understanding his creation. He makes further inquiry. After making further inquiry, the process of creation, the cause of all causes, Purusha Shukta, scheduled incarnations, all of them are explained by Shukadeva Goswami. Later, Parikshit Maharaj made further question, how Krishna created this world? He asked. That actually answers is given by Shukadeva Goswami by actually citing the Lord's version. There is all this, whatever he described is based, Shukadeva Goswami tells, this knowledge was originally given by the Lord to Brahmaji, and Brahmaji gave to this Narada. Narada actually received this knowledge from Brahma. Brahma received from the Lord, and that is what he gives the reference. And then he asked this question, and then Lord, what answer he get given to Brahma? That he cites in the 9th chapter. That is focus of our discussion today. Of course, the 10th chapter talks about Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. In this 9th chapter, right, contains again different sections. So the first section is the relationship between the eternal soul and his material body is described, and then the Lord reveals Vaikuntha to Brahma after his meditation, and the Lord expresses his pleasure to Brahma, and Brahma inquires from the Lord about the creation and relationship of all the things, and then Lord replies to Brahma's query, that is Lord's replies to Brahma, including the Chaturshloka verses from 31 to 37. The Chaturshloka of Bhagavatam is 33 to 36. That's what last week actually His Grace Damodar Prasad Prabhu covered. So today's discussion, he covered up to verse 33. Verse 33 is the first slokas, the seed verse of Chaturshloki of Srimad Bhagavatam. Today's focus is in the second verse of Chaturshloki of Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the context to our discussion today. As I mentioned before, this Chaturshloki of Bhagavatam is the original verses revealed to Brahmaji, spoken by the Lord, giving the entire knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. In these 4 slokas, the entire knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam is packed and given to Brahma. Brahma gave this knowledge to Narada Muni and he asked him to expand. That knowledge is the one he came and spoke to Vedavyas. When Vedavyas was contemplating why he is not happy with compilation of the Vedas, at the time Narada Muni appeared. This conversation comes actually in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where the Narada Muni explains about Srimad Bhagavatam. Then Vedavyas meditates on these 4 original slokas, and then the whole Srimad Bhagavatam is revealed to him. Then he compiles Srimad Bhagavatam. That Srimad Bhagavatam later he teaches to Sukadeva Goswami, and Sukadeva Goswami teaches to Parikshit Maharaj. So this is the context. This Chaturshloki of Bhagavatam contains 4 verses. The first verse describes about the theme of the first verse is Jnana. Knowledge means to know the Lord's personal form. Sorry, I missed one word. The means to know the knowledge, the means to know the Lord's personal form is far more confidential than realization of the impersonal form. In this verse, Agam Evasya Evagre, that verse, Krishna mentions the word Agam 3 times. I. He establishes the individuality. The first eye represents the Lord, the second eye represents the living entity, and the third eye represents the relationship between these two. That's what actually Vishwanath Thakur explains this verse like that. The first verse, theme of the first verse is knowledge. That means to know the Lord's personal form is far more confidential than the realization of the impersonal form. The second theme of the second verse, that is our discussion today. The theme of discussion today is Vijnana. The realization of this subtle science occurs by the Lord's grace. What is the Lord's grace? By Lord's grace, we can understand how everything is connected to God, connected to the Lord, Krishna. Anything which is taken away, disconnected from Krishna is illusion. That is the discussion today. The next two verses, of course, third verse and fourth verse discuss about Saragasyam and Tadangam. Saragasyam discuss about the secret, the most confidential secret, the Prema Bhakti. And fourth verse describes Tadangam, that is the necessary paraphernalia or means by which one can attain this Prema Bhakti, that is Sadhana Bhakti. So these are the themes of this Chatur Shloka, and our discussion today is the second Shloka, that is Vijnana. Let's recite this verse together from Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd Canto, 9th chapter, 34th verse. Pratyartam yat pratyeta na pratyeta chatmani tat vidyat atmano mayam yata bosho yata tamaka. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusion and energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. So the Lord here actually very clearly describes how everything is connected to Him. If you see anything not in connection to Krishna, that is nothing but illusion, like reflection in darkness. So the overview of this verse, this reference for this comes from Burjana Prabhu's book, Unveiling the Lotus Feet. Actually, he summarizes the purport given by Srila Prabhupada. Before that also he gives some references coming from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami from Chaitanya Charitamrita. This Chatur Shloki of Srimad Bhagavatam is explained nicely in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Madhya Leela. He explains all these verses nicely. Madhya Leela, I think 25th chapter. So the Lord's position is described in the text 33. Who the Lord is. He is an individual and He is the source of everything. Before all this material creation, He existed. What is going to exist after all the material creation is annihilated is the Lord. When we say the Lord, He is not alone. When we say Lord, it includes the spiritual world and the Lord's associates. When we say King is coming, King never comes alone. When we say King is coming, what does it mean? King and his entourage is coming. Similarly, when we say the Lord exists before everything, that means the Lord and His abode and His associates. Lord is never alone. It's always together. When I say Krishna says I, it always includes all the spiritual sky and His entire creation and all the living entities. The Lord's position is described in text 33 and text 34 describes the relationship of everything to the Lord. That is our discussion today. And Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila, chapter 1st, 54th verse, right? Actually, this particular verse is quoted by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He describes that there are two types of truths are there in this world. One is called absolute truth, another is called relative truth. The example given is the analogy. What is absolute truth, what is relative truth can be understood by this example. What is that example? He gives the example of sun. Sun is that absolute truth, which is source of everything. What is the product of sun? Sunshine. Also, because of sunlight, what happens? Darkness also appears. Both the reflection and darkness, they are byproduct of the sun. So this is, if you know information about reflection and darkness, that is like relative truth. If you know the information about the sun, that is the absolute truth. That is the example is given to understand. If you understand the information about the Lord and His creation, that is the absolute truth. That's what Srimad Bhagavatam focuses. It doesn't talk about some controller. It talks about the Godhead, the source of everything, all emanations, including the avatars. So that is the absolute truth. Darkness
right, is like absence of light. Darkness is nothing but, what is darkness in this world? Is there anything called darkness in this world? No. Darkness is nothing but lack of light, absence of light. So what is the source of darkness? Light only. Without light, there darkness is not. When you remove the light, what happens? What remains? Darkness. So hence, light is the cause of this darkness. Light, when you stand in front of light, behind you what happens? What comes? The shadow. Shadow is, darkness is nothing but also product of light. Similarly, Maya, illusion, is also nothing but Lord's energy only. Where is Maya coming from? Lord's energy. But the position of this Maya does not affect the Lord. Lord and his position, his activities is not influenced by this Maya. Darkness and reflection, they are not independent from light. Only due to Lord's Maya Shakti, things appear to be independent in this world. This world looks like everything is, when somebody studies in this world, they don't see Lord, they don't see Lord's energy. Through mental speculation, what is the highest conclusion they can come? They can come to the conclusion that everything goes on in this world because of material energy. That is what the scientists come up with, right? Everything happens because of material nature. Prabhupada asked the question immediately. Material nature means what? Next question an intelligent person will ask. Whose nature? When you say nature, nature is the cause of everything. Whose nature is it? Nature means it always connected to a person. The source of this nature is the Supreme Lord. Only to Lord, because of Lord's Maya Shakti, things appear independent in this world. One in Maya's grip cannot perceive the Lord. He only sees the Lord, that he is also part of this material world only. Whereas one is free from Maya, he can perceive the Lord is beyond this Maya Shakti. His activities are not influenced by Maya. Even when the Lord descends into this material world, his activity, if a materialistic person who is in the grip of Maya, when he sees his activity, will look like material activity. He took birth, he grew up, he was actually naughty, he was doing like this, he was actually having headache, right? He was feeling sad, he was feeling happy, and then when he left, he also left a body. Everything looks like an ordinary person in this material world. That is because of that person who is perceiving all this is in grip of Maya. If a person who is out of the grip of Maya, what grip he will? He will be in Yoga Maya. When anybody who comes under the energy of Yoga Maya, which is the real thing, he can understand the Lord's position. Only by Lord's internal energy, the Lord can be understood. That he is separate from this material creation. As I mentioned before, Madhya Leela, 25th chapter, verses 116 to 119, expand these 4 verses. In that actually it is described, Lord descends in this spiritual body. When he comes down in this world, he does not come in the material body. He comes in spiritual body. His activities are not material, but he is covered by this Maya. This Maya, when you look from inside, that is Yoga Maya. When you look from outside, it is Mahamaya. This Maya is same. When you look from the material angle, it is covered by, what you see is only Mahamaya. The Lord is covered by Mahamaya. A person inside, from the Lord's position, when he sees only Yoga Maya. Mahamaya never touches the Lord. Inside, Lord is covered by Yoga Maya when he comes to this world. Outside, he is covered by Mahamaya. One has to penetrate this veil of Mahamaya and get the mercy of Yoga Maya in order to take the darshan of the Lord in his spiritual form. Actually descends to perform sweet pastimes in order to encourage his pure devotees, chant his glories. That is actually mentioned in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, 13th verse and 14th verse. This 4 verses expansion of Srimad Chaitanya Charitamrita of Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually he quotes, Lord Krishna says, this is the Chaturshloki of Bhagavatam. Actual spiritual knowledge and its practical application are considered in all the sound vibrations. Although the external energy comes from me, I am different from it. Sometimes a reflection of the sun is experienced in the place of the sun, but its illumination is never possible independent of the sun. This is the 2nd verse. The 3rd verse describes, when one is transcendently situated, he can perceive me. When somebody is situated in Prema Bhakti, one's vision is coated with Premanjana, right? The ointment of prema, he can see the Lord. This perception is the basis of one's relationship with the Supreme Lord. Now let me further explain this subject matter. In the 4th verse, Krishnananda Garavati Goswami explains that what appears to be truth without me is certainly my illusory energy. For nothing can exist without me. It is like a reflection of a real light in shadows. For in the light, there are neither shadows nor reflection. If there is no light, there is neither shadow or reflection. The study of all these things, realized knowledge, Vijnana, is to bring to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. By understanding, realizing this knowledge, that how everything is connected to the Supreme Lord, anything which is valuable, anything which has some artha. Artha means what? Something valuable. Right? What is valuable in this world? If in America, what is valuable? Dollar. Right? In go to India, dollar is not valuable there. You need rupees. Currency is according to the place where you are dealing with. Similarly, in spiritual world, there is a currency. What is that currency? Bhakti. Pure bhakti. That is the currency. Until we get that currency that is valuable, we cannot attain the spiritual world. If you go to America, you need to come with dollar. If you bring any number of note, no shop will accept. You need to convert that into dollar. That's what valuable. Similarly, whatever of value in this world, they are not valuable in the spiritual world. All these things has to be converted into devotion. That connection, how needs to be done? That is what sadhana bhakti is. That is what devotional service is. One has to understand through this verse how everything is connected to the Supreme Lord. Even the material energy. And when we engage this material energy in service to Supreme Lord with proper connection, then one can gain this artha, which is valuable in the spiritual world. One can enter and one can actually be situated in the spiritual world. So this is the important points from Srila Prabhupada's purport. There are 10 points. Actually, Purjana Prabhu describes is into 10 sections. How are we doing in time?
30 minutes till we have 20 minutes.
Okay. I'll go through these points. So the first point, Srila Prabhupada actually in the first paragraph describes the first two seed verses. What are the first two seed verses? The Lord explains who He is. Right? He is an individual. He is beyond all this material creation. The spiritual realm is beyond this material creation. And then he also in the second verse, he describes what is this material creation. This material creation also gives energy. If you see this material creation without connection to me, which is an illusion. If we see in connection to me, then this material world also can be utilized in service of Krishna. That is the second verse. This is what Srila Prabhupada describes in the first paragraph. In the next paragraph, Srila Prabhupada describes how this material world is always changing. Even though it is changing, it is not false. If somebody takes this changing material world to be real, he is under illusion. If somebody takes this changing material world to be eternal, then he is under illusion. The illusion example Srila Prabhupada gives is the general example given by all the acharyas. What is illusion? If you want to explain what is illusion, immediately the example, analogy, the quote is mistaking rope to be a snake. If there is a rope in this room, and then if this room is full of darkness, there is no light. When you see the rope, and then somebody moves the rope, you don't see that somebody is moving the rope. It looks like a snake. The rope is real. What is not real? Mistaking the rope to be snake. But that means, how can one mistake one thing to be something else? He has to also have knowledge of the real thing, the other thing. How can you mistake rope to be snake if you never heard of snake? So that means snake is also existing. Whereas Mayavadis, they reject both the rope and snake. There is only one thing, that is Brahman. The analogy given here, this rope is like the material world. That is real. But mistaking this to be permanent is not real. That is illusion. That is the example is given. You can see this example here, this rope. And then it looks like actually a snake. If you don't have light, it looks like snake. So all this is given because of this Maya Shakti, material energy, which is also the Lord's energy. Maya's last two traps, Srila Prabhupada tells to the living entity is, first he thinks that
He's God.
he is God himself. That is the last snare of Maya. Or he mistakes the Lord to be formless. Everything is one. These are the last two traps of Maya. And Vedanta Sutra confirms that this verse, how the Lord tells that everything emanates from me. Vedanta Sutra also confirms this thing. What is that? Janmadi Yeshe Yataka. This is the second sutra. The first sutra of Vedanta Sutra is Atato Brahma Jignasa. Second sutra describes that Janmadi Yeshe, the source of everything is the supreme absolute truth. And then third sutra tells Shastra Yonitvat. The only way to know about the supreme absolute truth is through scriptures. That's what Vedanta Sutra confirms. Everything emanates from the Supreme Lord and its connection to the Lord. As nothing is truly separate from Lord, the living entities are dependent on Him. Because Lord's creation is not independent. Everything depends on Him. How the sunshine and the darkness, both of them are depending on the sun. Both of them will vanish if there is no sun. Similarly, the living entity and the material energy, both of them are dependent on the Lord. They are not independent. Only those who are dazzled by Maya's glare denies the Lord existence. They think that if they are glad, they are dazzled by this Maya. Maya has this two Shakti. One is the covering potency, another is the throwing potency. One is covered by this Maya. He thinks that everything exists because of material nature. There is no need of Lord's existence. A sane man takes enlightenment from the disciplic succession, beginning from Brahma, as the Lord personally instructed him. That is the next point Srila Prabhupada actually describes. Sorry, it cut out something. Yeah. A sane man takes enlightenment from disciplic succession. He does not mentally speculate. He does not like these Jnanis. They don't study the Vedas on their own and they try to figure out everything through their mental speculation. One cannot figure it out. One has to receive this Vedic knowledge as given by Lord Shri Krishna from Vedas in disciplic succession, coming from Brahma himself, because Brahma was personally instructed by the Supreme Lord. The living entities are also of the Lord, but they are not themselves God. This needs to be understood only. This can be understood only when studies this knowledge in disciplic succession. The example given is like fire and heat, right? The heat is never independent of fire. Fire is the source of heat. Similarly, sun is the source of the sunshine. The next point Srila Prabhupada talks about is material energy is like darkness. Lord is the light and the living entities are like the reflection, the sunshine in darkness. Actually, the living entity sees in this material world. The living entities in this material world is like darkness. The living entities are nothing but a reflection of the Lord's energy in this material world. That's what it thinks, that I am independent, I am existing on my own. This is nothing but reflection. No one can become freed from darkness by just with the help of reflection. Reflection is not, what is reflection? The knowledge of the common man through their mental speculation. Oh, this is like this is like that, everything is running like this, everything is working like this, through the mental. That is reflection. One cannot come out of darkness by reflection. One has to go to the real source of the light. That is sun. That is, one has to study Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Take the shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavata given by the Lord. The final point Srila Prabhupada talks about is in the purport is, all living entities are born in darkness, but the light, the mercy of the Lord is required for them to attain the ability to see the Lord and His internal energy. Actions of different energy of the Lord can be realized only by His costless mercy. Without the mercy of the Lord, one cannot understand these things. Like Brahma, anyone who is graced by the Lord's mercy, because Brahma went through tapasya, his sadhana bhakti, he went through the tapasya. By that the Lord was pleased. Then He actually showered His costless mercy on him. Then he received this knowledge. Then he could see this internal energy, including the Vaikuntha planets, after receiving the mercy from the Lord. Similarly, anyone can achieve this goal when he receives mercy of the Lord. How one receives the mercy of the Lord? By devotion. How the mercy of the Lord comes to us in this material world? through his devotees. Because in Kali Yuga, Lord never appears personally. Lord's mercy, especially in this age, comes through his pure devotees. For us, who is the connection? The practicing sadhakas are the one who's linking us to the pure devotees. The practicing devotees, the Madhyamadhigaris, are the one who links us to the parampara. So the Lord cannot be understood by any mental speculation. That's also Prabhupada's point, elaborates on this particular purport. So here the theme of the pictures I put is the various forms of Maya I put. So you can see like here the Lord giving darshan to Mahamaya. Mahamaya is nothing but Yoga Maya actually. The different forms of Maya you can see here. So there are actually 9 forms of Maya exist in this material world. These are the 9 forms of Maya, Durga. They are like Shailaputri, Brahmacharini, Chandraganta, what is that word? Kumanda, and Skandamata, Katyayini, Kushmanda, Kushmanda, and Katyayini, Kalaratri, Mahagauri, and Siddhidatri. These are the 9 forms of Durga described in scriptures actually, Navadurga. So that is the conclusion of today's discussion. 4 more minutes. So any other discussions? Questions. After the questions. Okay, this generally people when they study Vedas on their own, they cannot, as I mentioned, they cannot figure it out. The connection between all these different kandas. That's why when they study Agni Purana, they take Agni to be the supreme. When they study Brahma Purana, they think Brahma is supreme. When they study Shiva Purana, Lord Shiva is supreme. Because they go through by mental speculation. All this literature, they are all connected together. There is a theme behind all of them. What is the theme behind all of this literature? Slowly, gradually elevate the living entity from darkness, mode of ignorance, to Sattvika platform. Gradually elevate. That is the theme of the entire Vedas. When somebody comes to this mode of goodness, from there he can understand information about transcendental goodness. This is the theme of the entire Vedas. They are all connected together. There is no contradiction within Vedas. When somebody studies the Vedas individually, without studying in these 4 bona fide sampradayas, they will see nothing but contradiction. And then they will think that everything is one. They will think that Lord's form is also illusion. When somebody studies this Vedas, who gives the knowledge, a connection between all this knowledge of Vedas, which comes from Upanishads? Essence of all the Upanishads comes from Gita Upanishad. Only Lord Krishna can deliver this knowledge because he is the one who understands everything. Nowhere in Vedas, if you study, you will never see how all these things are linked, except in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. From animal life to Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga to Jnana Yoga to Ashtanga Yoga to Bhakti Yoga, this ladder system. Nowhere else it is described. Vedavyas had never described this yoga system, the ladder of the yoga, the gradual elevation. Anywhere else, only the Lord Krishna described this in the first 6 chapters of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And then the same Lord also gives, there's a parallel process. Instead of going through this gradual elevation, of going through the staircase, there is also the direct process. That is pure devotional service, engaging directly in bhakti. That is what Srimad Bhagavad Gita discusses from chapter 7 to chapter 12. And then the last 6 chapters talks about jnana. Okay, now you understand ultimately the Supreme Lord and bhakti and the living entity. The first 6 chapters also, they are divided into Karma Yoga, middle sector Bhakti Yoga, and then last 6 chapters are divided into Jnana Yoga. That's what Acharya said. There is another way of understanding this. Same 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. The first 6 chapters focuses on the actions of the living entity, the soul. The middle 6 chapters talks about the Lord and his position. The last 6 chapters talks about the material energy. Now you understood that pure devotion is the only ultimate way of getting the mercy of the Lord. Now, what do I do in this world? Now, I understand devotion. Now, how these things are working in this world, things are working differently. You have to know the workings of this world. That's what the last 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita describes. How the material energy works. So that you can engage them properly in devotion to Krishna. That is the theme. This can be done only by the Supreme Lord. This pure devotional service described in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in the middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, is expanded into 18,000 verses in Srimad Bhagavatam. There is no other literature anywhere. If you study any other literature, they talk about bhakti. What do they talk about bhakti? They talk about Mishra Bhakti, mixed devotion. There is no pure devotion. There is no other literature which discusses exclusively pure devotion, like Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the position of Srimad Bhagavatam. As we all know, Srimad Bhagavatam is nothing but Krishna himself. The first 2 canto represents the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, Pada Padma. That's why the first 2 cantos are considered to be called Pada Padma. This first 2 cantos, what to speak of first 2 cantos? The first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, written by, translated by and given purport by Srila Prabhupada, is sufficient in itself. What to speak of? Even one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. The first verse, somebody understands. He understood the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. As I mentioned, today's verse talks about how to connect everything to the Supreme Lord. What is the connection between the Lord and his energy? This can be understood only by the mercy of the Lord. Meanwhile, I would like to read some commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur about this particular verse. So his translation is little different. His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj had translated this into English by the commentary given by Sarartha Darshini, commentary given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, for one verse, important verses, one verse he will explain in multiple ways. This particular verse he explains in 3 different ways. So the translation: one should understand by my Maya, by whose power real objects are perceived through Vidya and false objects are perceived through Avidya. Knowledge means it includes both Vidya and Avidya. That's what Isha Upanishad also talks about. Just knowing knowledge is not sufficient. You also need to have knowledge of Avidya. Then only you can differentiate between these two. Otherwise, you will mistake everything to be Vidya. So Krishna is telling here that what the real object can be perceived through Vidya. What is real object? The spiritual internal energy. Because of Avidya, because of ignorance, one perceives the material energy. In relation to the self, just as light reveals objects and darkness hides them, one should understand my Yoga Maya, by whose power some objects are revealed and some objects are hidden from the person who has realized the Lord, just as the light reveals objects and darkness hides them. Commentary, right? Maya, material energy, acts partly favorably and partly unfavorably towards the living entity, towards the Jiva, to attain knowledge and to attain realization of Paramatma. Maya helps, gives both knowledge, also gives ignorance. It actually, by making you suffer in this world, it drives you towards running away from this material world. Then one person will start actually going towards understanding what is the source of everything, why am I suffering, he'll start questioning. That is actually mercy of Maya. So Maya can drive one towards up to Paramatma realization. Only that much one can push, Maya can push. When you realize me, Paramatma, then when somebody comes to the Paramatma realized stage, when he sees the Lord in the heart, at that time the mercy of Yoga Maya is revealed. When you realize me, Paramatma, then only Yoga Maya functions. When you attain pure devotion, when you see the Lord in the heart, then Yoga Maya functions. Thus, Yoga Maya acts only favorably. Mahamaya acts both favorably and unfavorably. Unfavorably acts, it gives you suffering. Favorably it acts, because of that suffering, it pushes you towards spiritual knowledge. It acts favorably and unfavorably. Whereas Yoga Maya always acts only favorably. Since both of this should be defined in this verse, I will impart this knowledge to you. In verse 27, you have asked about the qualities of Maya and Yoga Maya. Yatatma Maya Yogena. Now I am giving answer by taking 2 meanings to the verse. By this Maya, nothing is perceived except a real object, Artham. That is, only a real object is perceived. By which, and by this Maya, Yat, there is perception without a real object. This means that by this Maya, real objects are not perceived, but rather false objects are perceived. The liberated and conditioned souls knows it as my Atmana Maya Shakti, which has two functions, Vidya and Avidya. An example of Vidya is given here. It is like illumination coming from a lamp. An example of Avidya is given. It is like darkness. So the commentary further explains about all the information about Avidya here. I'll stop here. So if you want more information about Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura's commentary on this particular verse, is very illuminating, this Chaturshloki of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's available in this book, Charartha Darshini commentary by Srila Vivekananda Chakravarti, translated by Banaswami Maharaj. So if you want to borrow this book, of course you can take it from me. So,
Next class.
yes. Hare Krishna, we'll stop here. Any discussions? Any questions?
Very nice class.
So there are one more slide, right?
This last time.
Last slide.
Again, this is the summary of this chapter.
So Chaturshloki is 33, 36.
Yeah. So our discussion was today 34.
Only 34.
Yeah.
So next time 36.
35 is spoken by Nritya Gauranga Prabhu. 36 will be spoken by, explained by Balaramaya Prabhu.
So one verse a day.
Yeah. No, this only this Chatushlokis. Because each purport is very long purport, and given that these are the core of Srimad Bhagavatam. If you unpack this verse, these 4 verses, Jnana, Vijnana, Ragasya and Taddangam, what you will get? The entire Srimad Bhagavatam.
Satangam means?
Sadhana Bhakti. That's what like the Lord describes in the last sloka of Chaturshloki. If you want to realize the absolute truth, one has to come up to this level by Sadhana Bhakti. So this themes given by Jnana, Vijnana, Saragasya and Taddangam, that is described by Jiva Goswami in Bhagavata Sandarbha. He is the one who has given this theme of these 4 verses. A realized soul like Vedavyas can unpack from these 4 verses the entire Srimad Bhagavatam.
And Prabhupada can present it to us.
Yes.
Otherwise, we don't know who Jiva Goswami is.
Absolutely not. Because all the commentaries of all the acharyas are available in Sanskrit. Nothing is available in your local language. The first translation by any regional language is done by Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Some of these translations of some of the commentaries of the acharyas, which is in Sanskrit, was translated by Bhaktivinoda Thakura into Bengali and some English. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also did some work of translating Brahma Samhita of Jiva Goswami into English. Srila Prabhupada, that service is given to Srila Prabhupada to establish Srimad Bhagavatam fully in English
Yeah, the power of
for the
Maya.
entire world to benefit.
So the power of Maya is so great. Yesterday in the Discover Yourself, one of the students who's been coming to temple for 5 years, I talked about him 3 classes ago also, that this fellow is, even after eating Prashadam for 5 years, is so covered. He said, I said, Supreme Controller, Supreme Enjoyer, Source of everything, Supreme Proprietor, Supreme Enjoyer, and so on. So he said, you should add one more line. I said, what? Supreme Sadist. I said, what do you mean Supreme Sadist? Because we are suffering and God is enjoying, he must be a sadist. So people are at that level actually.
That is
Who come to the temple, they look decent, but when they open their
Yes.
mouth, you know how much is there in their
Yes.
heart.
That is all the original envy.
So much envy, huh? Same.
The original envy.
So much envy.
Because they think God only made them suffering. You should tell that person, please wait, don't come to a conclusion. Please wait until the complete full course. Until they come to the 5th topic, the karma, they cannot understand all these things.
He said karma is not necessary because when I work, I get money. That's all.
Now, where is the money coming from?
Bill Gates.
I am also working, you are also working. Why you are getting more money, I am getting less money?
He is not ready to listen.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, he has
So
to
to
wait
those
till the
people,
chapter.
actually what we do is actually create a favorable situation. Try to present something positive through culture. When they appreciate the culture, they indirectly
So
appreciate
he appreciates
Krishna.
the culture, that's why he's still hanging around,
Yes,
right?
sure.
He's hanging around, but he wants to fight.
Yes. And that is nature, quarrel and hypocrisy. That is the nature of the rebellious living entity. So to them, actually, we don't argue with them. By argument, you can never make devotees. Only by loving affection, you can actually make them come appreciate Krishna. Our goal is to not give this, give that, to make somehow to appreciate Krishna in some way. Then their bhakti begins. Once they do some devotional service, all the anartha will be pulled away by the Lord. We should not commit between the Lord and the devotee. That I will remove your anartha. Hey, you have this ignorance, you have this anger. I will control, I will teach you. No. How? Nothing can in between. When Lord Damodara wants to pull these two Yamalajana trees, nothing can come in between. Generally, because when we introduce somebody to Krishna consciousness, we wanted to remove their anarthas. That can be done not by only the Lord can pull down the anarthas in the heart. We should just facilitate and leave away. Let them discuss. Let them figure it out. Our part is to inspire them to connect to the Lord, to create a favorable situation. That is what even the Acharyas do. The Acharya, Prabhupada, somebody says, Srila Prabhupada, how can I get liberated? Can you give me liberation? He said, I can't give you liberation, but can I teach you how to get liberation? That's what the Acharya. Nobody claims that, okay, you stay with me, I will give you liberation. No. Giver of liberation is only one, Mukunda. The Acharyas teach you how to get the mercy of Mukunda so that he can award liberation.
Then do we never argue? Arguments we are controlling in a way.
See, that is the tendency of the living entity. This controller propensity is the one which brought us here. This is quite natural. That argument also can be created in a favorable way. Through that argument, you can understand knowledge. That is what an expert preacher can do. By argument, by discussion, he slowly brings them towards the Lord. But inexperienced person like me, I don't know how to do it. So then what we immediately do? Immediately we argue, hey, you are wrong. No. Even I don't know what is wrong, what is right. Right? So that is not the way. That is not going to create any favorable situation.
So one more.
Our goal is to help somehow appreciate them. Come towards Krishna. Whatever we speak, if it is not helping that cause, we should stop. We should take a step back. Go back to basics. Give them prasadam. Let them attend some cultural programs. That is the strategy used by Harivilas Prabhu. That is the difference between this temple and any other temple. I'm not saying that other temple are doing wrong. Their approach is different. The approach is always depend on the mood of the leader. Right? We follow all the footstep of Harivilas Prabhu. Harivilas Prabhu followed the footstep of Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada is a multi-dimensional personality. Different followers of Srila Prabhupada, they go through different dimensions of Prabhupada is not, people generally, Prabhupada said, Prabhupada did not do like this. Why are you doing like this? What does it mean? That means they understood Prabhupada. They tried to box Prabhupada. Do you know what Prabhupada is? No, absolutely not. I am following Prabhupada. You are not following Prabhupada properly. Some people say. That means they minimize Prabhupada. They shrink Prabhupada in their packet. My understanding of Prabhupada is correct. Prabhupada is a multi-dimensional personality. He revealed different dimensions to different people in different ways. So his followers, different followers, understand Srila Prabhupada of different dimensions. That is perfectly valid. Harivilas Prabhu's approach is through culture. Srila Prabhupada had given personal instructions to Harivilas Prabhu. In the letter, one of the letter, he have written, this festival should be going on. Engage them continuously. Keep doing all these festivals. There is a letter I will show you. Then I understood why Harivilas Prabhu keep doing all these festivals. Because he received direct instruction from Srila Prabhupada.
Krishna also says in one of the purport in second chapter, okay, for the ignorant people, just engage them in the service and slowly bring them. It's not like immediately.
So that is the mood. Generally we follow the mood of the leader. Then there is synergy and cooperation.
So one more question.
Yes,
So Gautama,
Actually, 4 minutes we have. There is an. We have to
Gautama,
finish this.
Kannada.
Kapila,
Kapila is Sankhya.
Sankhya. Atheistic Kapila.
And Jaimini for
No, Jaimini is Karma Kanda. Yoga, Patanjali is yoga.
Patanjali and Jaimini is Karma Kanda. And finally Vyasadeva.
So generally, Nyaya and Vaisheshika, they consider to be twins, the sisters.
Because one is atoms, one is combination of atoms.
Atoms. Sankhya and Yoga,
Mm.
they are sisters.
Twins and sisters. Huh?
Yeah. Twin sisters.
Mm.
And Uttara Karma Mamsa and Uttara Mamsa, Vedanta, they are considered to be the twins.
We need to look at this.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other
Yes,
points?
stopping this.
We'll recite the verses.
I don't think we can time times right now.
Oh, you have to give the wrong.
Okay,
We'll stop.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Ki
jai.
jai.
Vanchaka.